Hello everyone, I'm here today to do another video, and today I wanted to talk about the Springathon, which is a readathon that it's organized to read more nature writing, and I will leave some links below of the people that organized it, but basically it was for the past 2 weeks and I kind of participated. I read a couple of books about nature. So I wanted to talk about them. So the first one that I read was On Time and Water by Andris Nair Mangason, and this is an Icelandic book, a non-fiction book about basically climate change. So the author talks a lot about the effects of climate change on water, so glaciers and the oceans, and how that affects also humans, of course. So this book basically for me was a little bit of a disappointment, to be honest. I was excited about it. It sounded very interesting to focus on one aspect of climate change or the climate crisis. But I found that it was a little bit all over the place. There were a lot of memoir moments in the book, from when the author, for example, was younger in Iceland, but also when he interviewed the Dalai Lama. There was a lot about the Dalai Lama there, and then there was also, of course, things about the Himalayas and the glaciers in Iceland and the ocean. So it does make sense, like the topics connected to each other in some sense, but it was very loose and I didn't think it came together. I think it just lost focus of the main point. I appreciated the multi-generational approach that it took. It talked a lot about the grandfather of the author and the future as well. There's several points in which it repeats this idea that our lives are going to affect about 250 years, if you count from our grandparents to our grandchildren, and how much changes in that time with respect to climate change. And I liked that idea and that approach, but I think the memoir bit was a little bit too much to scatter, and it didn't come together for me. Unfortunately that was not a complete hit for me. And then I'm gonna briefly mention I tried to read The Story of More by Hope Jahren, but I just made it a couple of pages through, because in the first, I think it was even in the first page, that she said that Henry Ford was the inventor of cars, and I know it probably doesn't have a lot to do with the actual story and the actual thesis of the book, but the fact that she got that fact so wrong, like the cars were invented in Germany by Benz, and that's a Googleable fact. And also I haven't gotten with Hope Jaren's books before, because I read Lab Girl from her, and she was idealizing academics too much for me, and I don't think that I see eye to her. So after a couple of pages, I decided, Hope Jahren is not for me. I know a lot of people love her, but it's not for me. So I moved on, and I moved on to Lucy in Eden by Lucy Jones, and this one is about the connection of humans with nature and how that affects us, and how that relationship changes our mind and our relationship with nature, basically. And there were a lot of things that I was very interested into this book. There were some things that I knew and that I think they are pretty well known, like the fact that being in nature, any kind of nature, it improves your mental health in general. I think that's pretty well known, but what I didn't know, for example, there are some studies that correlate this certain bacteria in soil with reduced levels of depression, which was very interesting. Like, there's more than one way in which nature makes us happier. There was also this idea on the book that we have been treating nature as a thing separate from us, and this is also something that I have thought about, but I appreciated seeing in the book, that we are actually part of nature. We are part of the environment. We are part of our environment, and it's not separate from us. We are animals at the end of the day, and treating it like a separate thing that we can either exploit, either for our mental health or for like material things or whatever, it's just not healthy. We have to admit that it's part of us and we are part of it. So I did like that as well. The only thing that I didn't like is that some of the studies that are presented are a great number of them, and like things that whole chapters are based on. She admits that it's only a couple of very small studies without base samples and things like that. I'm basing, I think it had 10 chapters. I'm basing one whole chapter in one study that it's not that good. I felt it was a little bit shaky in the science front. I think it's interesting to know that these ideas exist, and there's some kind of not proof, but some kind of indication that they might be right. But it's just, I don't like when theories that are not proven yet are presented as facts, and I think that she did that a couple of times, and that made me feel a little bit more doubtful about the book. But overall, I think that some of the ideas that she presents are really powerful, and it definitely made me want to go into nature more and explore that part more. So yeah, those are the two books that I managed to read for Springathon. It's not much. Probably other people have managed to read more. I know that I did have a lot of books about nature in my TBR, and I still do, and I would like to explore that more in the rest of the year, but that's what I managed to read in these 2 weeks. Let me know if you have read anything from Springathon, if you have heard anything about these books, or if you have read them, you're interested in them. And until next video, bye!